we're going to have, for each speaker, we're going to have 15 minutes that the speaker will talk, and then we'll have 5 minutes of Q&A. Use the chat to put your questions in while the speaker is speaking, and at the end, we'll present those questions to the speaker. Maybe you've heard this. Put some plus signs in front of your question if you want to ask it out loud. If you want to unmute your mic and interact with the speaker. I think one last thing to say is that we've got 3 speakers left and 1 drawing left, and that's it. So Linda, who's up next?
So our next speaker, as you can see, is Jennifer Sertl. She is the president and founder of IWD'20, a leadership development company dedicated to strengthening strategic skills and helping leaders become more resilient, responsive, and reflective. She is the author of Strategy, Leadership, and the Soul, published by Hierarchy Press. She is currently running a social media strategies by Grit Health, Second Avenue Learning, and Excel Partners. So let's welcome Jennifer and her talk.
Okay, it'll just take me, so thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And it'll just take me a moment to upload my slides real quick, please. So where's the...
So let's see. I see that your slides will be on childhood stories and our future selves. And I think you'll probably give us the story on this once you're ready. But when we were discussing this earlier, I think you had a different talk in mind. Was that right? And then I think you changed to this talk instead. So we're all wondering.
Yeah. So at first I was going to talk about social media and how to actually create a personal brand on the network. But given the situation, at least what I felt like our community needed, I really felt that it was important to have a talk that was a little bit more personal. They can't see. Okay, you can see. Yeah. I think we've been having trouble.
Your screen now. I see your Agility 3R.
Can you see my face though?
Yeah. Yep, we can see that on the side.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So we'll go ahead and go. And technology. So you can still see my face.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. On mine, I can't see it. So that's. So yeah, so going forward, I just wanted to start that I'm originally from Denver, Colorado, and I got my degree in existential philosophy. Why I wanted to start with that is I've been waiting for over 30 years for people to understand exactly why I studied existential philosophy. Existential philosophy is about belonging. And whether you're talking about authenticating a system and making sure that you're the right person to use a device, or if in fact you are an individual trying to find out who you are versus who you were, who the crowd is, belonging and authenticity are such a big part of today. So I'm really excited to feel super relevant. And for all of you outliers out there who are doing things that people may not understand, I promise you that your time will come, which is great. So my talk really is about you and how to protect yourself from the seduction of the world, right? We're being seduced to sometimes to feel that we're not worthy or that that we're not enough. And I really hope that by the end of my 15 minutes that you have greater perspective on what you have and some strategies on how to protect yourself from some of the peer pressure and groupthink. And yeah, peer pressure and groupthink happens to people. I'm in my 50s, right? It happens to adults as much as it does to kids. And I just don't think we talk enough about it. So I'm so appreciative to have this platform. But, E. Cummings says that to be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best night and day to make you everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop fighting. And so I hope that whether you're a man or a woman, and I do hope that men are on this platform, is that, I am a mother of 3 children. I have 2 daughters and a son, and I do a lot about women and helping women get funding. But I also know that we can't go alone. We have to actually have a community of men and women working together. So that's why I have both of you represented here, which is great. So the first is that I really want you to put in your smartphone or I have an Android, but whatever phone you have, every 6 months, I want you to put in to do an inventory of how you're doing, right? And so I think that our ability to add value is our ability to be whole. And if we're, in our ability to be healthy impacts how we make decisions. And so this is the model that I've been using for the last 30 years is what I'll call the robust vitality model. And it starts with spirituality. Spirituality is not about religion. It's just knowing that you make a difference. And I know the picture's not very good on this particular slide, but it's the idea of a leaf falling on water, making ripples. And so when you have a sense that you actually do impact systems, I think that makes you a spiritual person. Health and wellness is obviously eat and exercise, but I want you to include even more sleep. I don't know about you, but I've actually had a lot of insomnia with the pandemic. And I've been really starting now to track my sleeping because I know that it's really important for my immune system. It's also very important for my ability to make good decisions, right? Relationships is about intimacy, and it is our relationship with our family, our relationship with our coworkers, and our relationship with our partner, or however we have it. And so these are all things that I'd like you to kind of just check in and give yourself a number 1 to 10 on each category, at least every 6 months. I don't know, at the bottom of this slide, and mine has it a little bit, oops, I have to go back up to this, is actually well-being and our ability, our pardon? I think I was hearing some background noise from my family, sorry.
You can click hide and will hide that menu and we can see what is on
the got it. Oh, got it. Yeah, right. Because the meaning of life. Let's see if I can get my clicker to work here. Oh my God. It's my daughter's computer, which is why you see Hannah Sertl's name on there. It's okay. It's emotional well-being, and that is our ability to embrace our talent without pride and our inadequacy without shame, right? Because if in fact I feel ashamed of something, I'll probably try and overshoot in something else, right? And if I'm in fact too proud, I might not be on center, and I might take things for granted, or actually might miss an opportunity, right? So it's really just about having, I'm amazing and I'm humble, both in the one hand. Finance, I loved one of the talks that were just 2 people ago was amazing, is that my family didn't talk about money to me. What Kate is doing with Chloe Capital is amazing. I wish that people had started talking to me about money in my 20s. It didn't really happen for me until, I had to buy a house, in my later 30s. So, and then intellect is the idea that you should have 3 things, 3 muscles that you're building all the time. One being a skill in your current job that will help you add more value. One being a skill that's an emergent skill. And then one being teamwork. Because I believe collaboration and the ability to work with people, no matter what, is a skill that will always be valuable, and one that we can continue to strengthen. Now, why is it not going down, Linda? Can you help me with why it went too far too fast, and then
try to use your keyboard.
Okay, there we go. All right, so this right here is important. So when my daughter, who's 23, she actually is working at Nickelodeon. I'm very excited because she just started this week, and she's in Los Angeles. But when she was 10 years old, I drew this for her. And it was the idea that we are very complex. We have values, thoughts, beliefs, goals, fears. And if you're me, I have a little bit of coffee, right? Some caffeine, sugar. And so we've got all this brewing up in us. And then we're asked to hit the ball. And I hope you can hear that noise, right? The word decide comes from homicide, suicide, decide. Homicide is to kill someone else. Suicide is, unfortunately, to kill yourself. And decide originally comes from the root side, which means from all other possibilities. So you're actually taking away all other possibilities to make a decision. And so I really like us, to think about decision making. What we see depends mainly on what we look for. And so I really want to talk to you about how you make decisions. And that's really kind of going to be the next few slides that we see. I can figure this out. Oh, good. It's actually a roller ball, which is good. And so you really want me to see if I can figure out how to get this hide. There we go. We did it. We did it. We did it. All right. So at one point, actually, in about 2007, I came up with a sentence that really meant a lot to me. And it was the idea that our competitive advantage is the accuracy in which we scan the macro environment, right? Our ability to actually see clearly and make decisions is our ability to be competitive. And that really changed everything. My company was called Customer Service Alliance. I was doing employee satisfaction and customer satisfaction surveys. And I had an opportunity to interview Thomas Friedman, who wrote The World is Flat. And it really was a powerful interview. And from that perspective, I said, well, so what he had actually is there was in his book, there was a manufacturing plant had this thing that if you were a lion, you had to outrun the fastest gazelle. And it was the idea that it was about conditioning. And so a lot of people were winning, but whether or not they were number one didn't mean that they were in great condition. And so I guess that's a talk on its own. I better not get off track there. But anyway, so what this picture is that your competitive advantage is your ability to scan the environment well and how you make decisions. And I hope that means something to you. So, well, how do you practice? How do you practice your impact, and how do you do this? My first thing I'd like you to do, and I'm hopeful that you'll get a copy of these slides, and I know that you'll get access to this slide deck, and you'll be able to get my email if there's anything I can clarify for you. But in order to actually have strong, accurate framework, I ask people to take 3 words that best define them. And so there's this, obviously, a list of many words. And I don't expect you to pick out 3 words right now, but I know that you all have in mind the way that you want to make a difference in the world. And if you can turn it into 3 words, it's really going to be helpful. So for me, it's agility is resilience, responsiveness, and reflection. And so what I did is I actually, defined what those are, and then created kind of clarifying around it. So resilience is durability, flexibility, diversity, and connectivity. Responsiveness is perceptiveness, attentiveness, alertness, and adaptability. Reflection is introspection, sense-making, insight, and foresight. So when I want to sharpen how I scan, I believe that these 3 mental muscles will actually help me be a better scanner, right? Now, I don't want you to care about my definitions, but I want to ask you if you could actually take the time and find 3 words that really mean something to you, and to actually put some time and effort into defining what they are. Having that kind of clarity around who you are and what you're sharpening, it changes everything, and it's so very powerful. And then we are mirrors of one another, and so our ability actually to grow is based on our peer groups. And the challenge that I was in, and you might be in healthy environments. I was in a very unhealthy environment when I was growing up, and so I had to do, and it's probably why I studied existential philosophy, was I had to create people that I admired in order to try and find the right kind of modeling. And so over the years, it's changed. But what I've done is usually have about 7 people that I actually will have named and put a target as to why. Why they're there. And then almost like a board of advisors, when I have a hard decision to make, I'll bring a picture of that person and put it in my wallet or something. And it actually, believe it or not, I believe that thinking of a person and the attributes that they have actually does make you stronger. So obviously, I don't think any of these pictures need any explanation. This is Brené Brown, upper right corner. The woman on the bottom left is actually Eleanor Ostrom. She was the first woman that actually got a Nobel Prize in economics, and she actually wrote about the commons and how to create governance for commons. And I do believe as the market's changing and as things are changing and as communities are becoming, it's interesting, communities are becoming more global as well as more centralized and localized. And so she's someone to study. But so what is my point for you? My request in earnest is that you know, again, every 6 months kind of do an inventory on you and how you're doing relative to a holistic model. Second is that you would determine 3 distinct words that mean something to you and put some meat around it. And then the other is that you find people that model for you that way. Really powerful. And this leads to the next thing, is that to journal. I really, you know, I'm used to speaking to, you know, a group of people. I can see all their hands, and I can see a show of hands how many people have a journal. And I've been keeping a journal since I was 8 years old. Yeah,
we'll have time for. We're gonna do questions here very soon. Is it almost time if you have questions, go. Well, yeah, very soon. I'm just letting people know to go ahead and start adding their questions to the chat. And cool. As you close out here, we'll be ready.
Perfect. Okay, 2 more slides. So, and then I could go on to a lot of different journal exercises, but I'll kind of wait. Actually, these are so important. The only 4 questions that I need you to write in your journal are these. Where have you been? What have you learned? Where are you going? And what is required? Where have I been? What have I learned? Where am I going? And what is required? 3 distinct times in my life, I made really hard decisions, and they were all based on writing these questions down. And the hardest thing about seeing something in print is that you can't not know it, right? And I think everybody knows what that means. The other thing is that you got to be a reader. You got to read. You got to read so much. I really invite people to make a practice of reading at least a new book once a month, and try and weave in business books as well as philosophy and maybe some poetry. For the topic of women, these are the books that I think would be the most helpful for the women that I'm coaching and the people that I hope are in your platform. And then the last is my last slide, which is, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much.
That's terrific. I have a real quick question for you. What is the last book that you purchased and read?
So, the good news is it's actually not, it's fiction, and it's All the Light You Cannot See, which is a beautiful book about World War II. It's just a lovely, these kids that were 8 years old at the time the war started, and their lives intermingle, and it's so beautiful. It's All the Light You Cannot See. It's beautiful.
I saw that stack. Was that your stack of books in the image?
Oh my God, are you kidding? Yeah, I have so many books. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I do hope people follow me on Twitter. I do a ton on Twitter, and I always put really good books out on Twitter. But yeah, so you see in this picture, you can see my bookshelves in the background. I have I have four of these little cubbies have family pictures, and then the rest are books, and they're all they're on all different types of themes.
There's people in the people in the chat had requested to see that slide again, so thanks for holding that there. I think they were curious what your book stack was. Oh, someone says they've read 2 of them. Which 2 did you read? Yeah, so hold on. We'll see what comes back there. Yeah, that's really great.
Can you present it, Jen, so it's bigger, the picture?
Oh, sure. Let me see if I can. Let's see.
In the top. In the top.
In the top. Okay, the top over here.
Yeah.
Here. See, the trouble is that I have the mouse in. It's just, since it's my daughter's computer, it's just not working that well. I'd rather have people request to get the slides, and then they can see them.
Yeah, we will share the slides.
Yep, that's we can set that up. There have been people asking for some of this information. We will put any of the content that we can on the Meetup website after the event is over. Hopefully by tomorrow you should see any of this content ready for you. So the 2 books that were read was A Whole New Mind and The 6 Hats.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good. Very good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. A couple of us were blown away by the idea, by the origin of
decision.
Oh yeah, decide. It comes from side. Right, to kill all the possibilities. That's right.
It was neat.
Yeah, that's right. It is.
Yeah. Oh, that possibilities. I wrote down options, but it's possibilities. That's even better. I like that.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
6 Thinking Hats. That's the book. I'm sorry.
And I think that the hardest part is that if you know.
Okay, so let's do
if you know how you make decisions.
Oh, go ahead. What's the hardest part?
No, it's just that if people have decision-making criteria, they're not overwhelmed. It's that so many people are trying to belong in these systems that their decision-making criteria isn't internal. And literally, while the decisions are harder, making the decisions are easier with this three value process. But I could go on, so I'll be quiet.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, no, I think that's a great way to end it. We're